What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is New York rapper Wiki. We spoke about Smile, the Netflix documentary Descent, the early work of Martin Scorsese and Harvey Keitel, the musical and cultural diversity of New York, being consistent over a decade-long career, a selection of his best songs, starting out young, being ahead of your time and paying it forward for the next generation, and the creative processes behind his last two albums, the Navy Blue produced Half God and the Subjxct produced Cold Cuts. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. Trucking along. It's election day. Things are scary, but I got Banana King, so it's all straight. My name is Dylan Green, CineMasai. I got a lot of names, do a lot of shit, run around all over the place. And I'm with somebody else, little man about town type shit. Just who I'm also a man who's got a lot of names and does a lot of shit and has been very busy over the course of the last, I mean, really the last like decade, but like particularly the last couple of years. You know, it's a native son of New York. He's a rapper. He's a fucking, we all know him, love him. We got Wiki in the house, fucking Pat Morales. What's up, man? Thank you so much thank you for being here. Like, honestly, like I told you at the show at the New Eurekan that like I've been around since like the early Rat King days. So like to see your growth over the last decade and to get to talk to you is like it's really a pleasure. So just like thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. And just I mean even that like just I love it, all the different people from that like caught wind over the years at different times, but then it's like the Rat, like the Rat King, that's like such an important foundation, I feel, for like even understanding the full story, you know what I mean? Like, not that It's the story in that kind of like weird press sense, but just the actual like story of an artist, you know what I mean? I feel like that was the grounding thing, and that was like the foundation for like what, even still for what I'm doing now, you know what I mean, in a way.
Right. Yeah. It's just like that's like history and like all that shit matters and it molds you. So, like it's been like we'll get more into this later. But like since we're talking about it, like it's really amazing to see so many people who like you have people like me who've been around for a minute. You got people who like got tapped in with like Oofy and No Mountains, and you got people tapped in from like Half God and like all the then the Cold Cut shit was Subjxct, like everything, So it's just like there's so many different entry points, but we can get into all of that later because we're here to talk. We're here to talk about movies and shit as well. Yeah, you already know. So the first question I ask everybody who comes on here is, what was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
The last TV show I had strong opinion in the sense of like, just like, oh man, I didn't like that or something like that. Or like,
positive or negative, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I'm trying to think about what the last movie I saw was. Wow, damn, I wish. No, because like I definitely seen a movie recently. I'm just smacked. What did I see with my girl recently? Or I could do the last movie I went to the theater. When did I go to the theater? What did we watch? Oh, we watched that new horror movie. What's that horror movie?
What was it, Barbarian?
Nah, bro. I wasn't into it. I forgot what it was called.
Oh, I'm trying to think because there's been a bunch out. There was Barbarian. There was Smile. What else? There's a hell of shit that came out.
I watched this ill. You know what? I watched this ill documentary that's called The Descendant. That's like about. That's like about one of the. It's like the last slave ship that was like illegally brought over in like 1860, and then they like burnt the ship down. But it's all these descendants that are still in, like, it's right around Mobile, Alabama, and it's like, like they're like, oh, my grandparents were like on, you know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, it's really interesting because it touches on this whole, it's like there's a spot, Africa Town, that's like kind of this hub that like is holding this tradition down, but then throughout the doc, they're trying to actually find the ship itself, and then they end up finding the ship, and it's like, which is actually like they knew it was real kind of thing. There's all these records, but it's like that was the concrete evidence, and like all this, it turns into a whole thing, but it's actually dope. I'm pretty sure it's called The Descendant or The Descendants, but I think it's The Descendant. I'm pretty sure, but it's you should check it out. That I've been watching, like I've been like watching docs sometimes because it's like, you know, you could like learn. You could like learn. I don't know, like maybe if I don't read enough, it's like you could still throw something on and like kind of get some interesting information out of it. But like, I mean, it was just shed light on a bunch of things just in American history in general, but also it's like this specific occurrence was really interesting, and all the politics around it and everything surrounding it was like pretty like crazy, you know what I mean? So I would say
tight. That's tight.
I can't believe I don't remember the horror movie. What was it about? Oh, it was like the Smile one. It was Smile, bro.
Yeah, it was Smile.
I was smacked, bro. I went there and I like didn't even pay. I was like, bro, this ain't it. That's crazy. Yo, I was like on the spot. You were like, what did you see? I was like, I don't even remember. But it was Smile. It was Smile. And maybe it was honestly. Maybe I think I took like an edible or some shit. But The Descendant, that's the last, like I saw that like 2 nights ago or something. So that
got you.
Say, like, last thing I saw.
All right, so I want to touch on both of those because I haven't seen The Descendant, but I definitely seen Smile. I'm big on docs too. I haven't seen The Descendant. I don't know the story, but that sound like, you know, I'm actually happy you brought up that whole aspect of like, there's like, that's one of the things I love about movies is like, especially documentaries, like you could just throw it on and like, obviously like you got to pay some kind of attention to absorb what's going on. But like, it's just like, it's less, like, I almost feel like watching a documentary is like less demanding than like reading something, especially when it comes to something like as heavy as like the history of a fucking like lost slave shit. Like that's like heavy shit. So,
yeah. Like, and it's kind of like, it's really current too, because it was all kind of coming out in the past few years. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
So a doc can kind of touch on different, you know, like you can see a little bit more different perspectives too. It's like, versus maybe in a book, it coming just from one, you know, like person research this or something. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're seeing both sides. You're like, one person's like, oh, I don't care about the ship. It's more than the ship. But other people, then they're like tapping with National Geographic. There's the actual like, they bring in the like scientist dudes that are like, all right, we're just like finding the ship. And then, you know what I mean? It's like this whole, the politics of it all. And it's interesting, you know?
Right. Yeah,
and then you can kind of see that physical, you know what I mean? You're like in there, you're seeing it, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, like I've been learning, especially over the course of the last like 5 years. Like I'm really a visual learner when it comes to that. And like I really like I absorb it better. I absorb it better when I have like a visual aid to go along with it. That shit is so crucial. But with Smile, because my girl and I saw that maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. I enjoyed Smile up until like the end. The end kind of, I don't want to say like it ruined it for me, but like it was just,
I forgot what happened.
Long story short, it turns out that Shorty had to go back to the house and confront her trauma. And like it's this big ass like witch looking lady, and then the movie ends with the witch climbing inside her, and then she winds up killing herself, and then she passes the demon on to her cop ex-boyfriend.
Oh yeah. They passing the demon on. I forgot. Yeah. Yo, I was smacked. I don't know what was I on. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, as that's not the movie you want to watch when you're smacked. I
think that's what it was. I mean, I think it was like semi-entertaining. I don't know. Yeah. I was with like mad people. Like it was like someone got tickets. Like someone like bought out the theater and just like,
oh shit,
not the whole you know, like mad.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, everyone pull up. So it wasn't like I was like, I'm gonna go see Smile tonight, and this is. I was just like, all right, let's pull up. You know what I mean? So I think it was kind of like, you know, the vibes. Like.
Oh no, totally. Like it's just like that kind of experience is either gonna lead to like the best or like the worst movie experience of your life. And like exactly. Smile was like Smile was really entertaining. Like I really enjoyed.
I thought it was entertaining.
Right. I just enjoyed like the just like the direction and the cinematography were beautiful. The acting was great. The jump scares were all tight. Just like everything about it technically just worked. And I was just like so caught up in it. And they like play around with like, they play around with the lady being like an unreliable narrator and the thing kind of like following her and nobody believing her and like.
See, now I want to rewatch. I'm gonna
rewatch
it now. I don't even want you to say that I didn't really shit on it. I just don't. Really
no, I get it. No, yeah.
I want to rewatch it, bro.
I'm sorry, I'm not just.
No, yesterday I met up with my homie and he was like, my friend Tatanka, and he's like, yo, Bruno brought me to the worst movie ever. He's like, that movie Tar. He said that movie Tar.
Oh shit.
And then he was shitting on it. He was like, Bruno thought it'd be funny to do a boys' night out and go see Tar. And
that's not a boys' night out.
No,
movie,
exactly.
son.
Like
Stop
I was
it.
like, Bruno's just like too fried. You know what I mean? Like he thought it was funny. Yeah. But now I'm sitting here watching this shit. Like, and then he was talking so much about it that I was like, yo, I need to see this now because you're like shitting on it on a level where, to me, I know him. I'm like, it probably just wasn't for you, you know?
Right.
But he was like, nah, that shit was trash. So I'm like, I need to see this now. Now I need to really see it to see like how bad could it, because the trailer actually looks kind of crazy. I looked at the trailer.
The shit was hard. I saw
the trailer
it,
looked crazy. Oh, you fuck with it?
Oh yeah. I saw the movie like a week and a half ago. I fuck with it. I thought it was cool.
Hell yeah, I fuck with that.
It's
I'm
like,
gonna watch it.
So like I'm gonna say it's not a boys' night out movie. That's not the movie you go pull up with the homies and watch.
Exactly. What's funny though too is that T is just ultra critical. You know, he's one of them people that I'm like,
right.
You take his opinion, you're like, all right. You know what I mean? You already know, like, you know, certain people you're like, word, it was really bad. With certain people, they call everything. You know what I mean? It's like everything. So you gotta take it with a grain of salt. So, but at
the same time, it's nice to have those types of people in your life because like having that differing perspective is like it just like makes engaging with the shit easier. Like for me, I saw that by myself, and it was like it's OD long, but it's just like watching this really terrible person. Bless you. It's just like watching this really terrible person fucking just like lose everything. And it's like the whole thing. I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's just like she's like a classical film composer, or no, excuse me, not a classical film composer. She's a classical music composer. She's like one of the most famous in the world, and like, but like it turns out that she's been like, I don't want to spoil it, but long story short,
she's been like messing with the students, something like there's something going on.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. So I guess, like I said,
it's been spoiled for me.
Yeah, so yeah. Anybody who doesn't want to listen, skip ahead of it. Like she's she's grooming her students. Like she's been like fucking on her young students, basically, and it gets found out, and the whole thing is just her life falls apart because of the decision she made. And
it's like current. It like makes sense with the times and everything. Like
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, and I guess like putting it in that. You know, like taking it and putting it in this kind of like not the usual suspect. It's like this woman, like
exactly,
classical composer. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, they're like football coach or some shit. It's like
right.
You know what I mean? But it's like the same. It's kind of that thing that's like happening. And it's like you had all this prestige, and then all that is kind of unravels and shit.
Right. And then there's a whole scene where she like has a breakdown with an accordion in like an apartment, and the shit it's like 40 seconds, but it's so funny. It's just this white lady fucking playing an accordion and like screaming about apartment. It's wild. It's a wild.
That's right. He probably was dying. I bet he was dying.
I was the only person laughing because I think
I've seen everyone was like, this is like supposed to be the most like fucking emotional moment. You're just like, this is too much.
Son, I might have been the youngest person in the maybe not the youngest person, but like most everybody who was there was like right. Yeah, it was like 55, 60. Like
for older folks, but you know what I mean? It's like that's gonna be the people there.
But yeah, I fuck with that kind of shit.
And you went to the theater and saw it, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I was saying that like these days going to the theater, like the other night when I went, that was different. I was like a little sauce and I was like, oh. But like when you like go to the theater, like because with the phone and everything, you know, like when you watch shit, you're like you always check something, and then you're like, but like that's the last. And I was someone mentioned it to me, and I was like, they were like, yo, that's the only time I can like fully be like, all right, I'm watching this film through full, like no distractions, no like, all right, I kind of. And I was like, yeah, that's actually mad important. It's like especially with everything, you know, in a world we live in, it's like there is that time to just be like, all right, everything's turned off and just be like, let me just take the full film in. You know what I mean? Like,
Son, that shit is so real. Like I was this isn't a movie, but I was watching I was rewatching some episodes of Samurai Jack a couple days ago. And Samurai Jack does that for me cuz like there's like not a lot of dialogue on that show. So like you
yeah.
got to like really watch it and like pay attention or else you're not going to know what it's going on, you know? So
That's
like
interesting. Yeah, I feel that. I remember like it's like that's a show you can't just like throw on in the back and like know what the fuck's going on.
right.
Like,
You know,
back in
you
the day,
can
like when I used
if
to
you don't
watch.
care, but like yeah,
No, like
totally.
if you don't care, but that's the thing, it's fire. So then you're like, wait, nah. And
Right.
like visually it's ill and everything. You know what I mean? So then you're just like, it's almost like it almost is like a comic or something in that way, you know, or a
Mhm.
graphic novel or something.
That shit is so real. Like before we move on, it was what was the episode I was watching? It was the one where he's being hunted by a shinobi, just like a classic like ninja and like the black getup. And there's like a whole scene at
Yeah,
the end where they fight, and they're in this room where like there's like a bunch of sunlight and a bunch of darkness, and he like dresses up in an all white outfit. So like
yeah,
the
yeah.
two of them, like he like blends in with the what he blends in with the light, bro blends in with the dark, and they're like fighting across it. And it's like some of the most beautiful shit I've ever seen in anything in my life. And it's just
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
rewatched it again, and I was just like, you ever just watch something and it's just like, this is why I like movies, or like this is why like TV
yeah.
works for me. Like that was one of those moments. It just like really
Yeah,
hit me
like
in the heart,
sometimes yeah, exactly. Especially as we get like older and shit. You know what I mean? You're like
Yeah.
a little bit more jaded, and you're like just finding something that you kind of like. You're like, oh yeah, I'm into this. But then when you see one of those things, you're like, nah, this is why I like love this shit from the jump or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
and you're like, nah, yo, they killed that. Like, yeah, I feel that.
Shit. So let's run it back for you. What's the first movie experience you can remember having? Like it could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's house,
Oh,
wherever. Like
the first movie I ever saw.
or like
I mean, I remember being mad young and like my uncle putting me on the Star Wars when I was hella young. It just as like a big
yeah,
one, you know what I mean? Like seeing those first
yeah,
three, or not first three, like episode three, episode 4, 5, 6. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
back in the day when I was really young, like after it come out, you know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
then like Space Jam. I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
about like the tapes I had, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to the
yeah.
movies, I'm trying to think too. Also, a big movie that I remember. That's mad funny. I said Space Jam, then I said fucking Star Wars, and I'm about to say Spaceballs. Because I remember that being one of the first movies that was like maybe like said fuck, you know, like more cursing in it.
Yeah.
Spaceballs, it was like a little bit more raunchy, and I saw it. Like these are all like the young, like being really young and just kind of like remembering it, but like
Right.
yeah, I fucked with Mel Brooks so deep, but then like I think really then I got into like then I had like you know I was like really into New York when I was a kid, and then I got into like anything that was like a New York movie, which there's so much to dive into, you know what I mean? And when you're young, you kind of get into like the Scorsese thing, and then you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
a lot of those too. Then in my like when I was in middle school and like early high school were really influential. Like I remember my homie putting me on the Taxi Driver and like seeing Mean Streets, and even then going and like I remember the person who actually this dude Eric Yu, he's a director. He did Wiki Speaks, he did Canal. He's like
Mm-hmm.
doing his thing, you know what I mean? But back in the day, he put me onto this movie. I think it's called Who's That Knocking at Your Door or something like that. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
Scorsese's first movie, like first like full feature long movie. But it's like before, you know what I mean? It's like out of like film school or something, and it has
Right.
Keitel in it, and it's ill, bro. And there's so many because you get to see like Scorsese as the like just post being a student, the brilliance, but like not maybe a little less like informed by the industry and like, all right, we got to
Right.
make this. It's just like art, you know what I mean? It's more just like this is art.
Yeah,
It
it's just
has
raw.
you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's not like this, like oh, it has
Yeah.
to be this many. Oh, we got to sell it. Like not that anything else is that, and he would ever sacrifice that, but it's just as you. It's like anything. It's like you could hear my music now, I'm more aware of like this structure of, you know what I'm saying? Versus, I mean, clearly not. I'll just go for fucking 6 minutes, but I try to, you know what I'm saying? I try to do that, but it's like, then you could go to some old shit and it's a little bit more like raw, but that's what makes, sometimes that's what makes it like why it was so dope. You know what I mean? Like even the old Rat King shit, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, there wasn't this formula to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's crazy you say that because I hadn't thought about like the Scorsese and like Keitel, like the Harvey Keitel comparison when it comes to like even like your early shit, but like, you know, like there's a lot of that in there. If that's what you're saying, is that what you're saying?
I love Keitel because even like it's like like I love De Niro, but Keitel, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I like connect the Keitel or something. I don't know. I think I don't know. Like because the early ones, it was kind of like Keitel was the guy, not the guy, but I was like who Scorsese was really working with. And then Mean Streets, De Niro was in it, and then of course he always worked with Keitel. But you know what I'm saying? It was like De Niro, Scorsese, but pre that it was, and you could tell because this is like his first thing, and it's like starring Keitel. When Keitel, that might have been one of his first movies too. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
Yeah.
Like them coming up together too. That idea, like him coming up as an actor, him coming up as a director and working on it, you know.
Totally. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what his first movie was, but one of the first I remember hearing about that wasn't like him as Winston Wolfe in Pulp Fiction was you ever see Bad Lieutenant before?
That's where he's my like favorite.
Bad Lieutenant.
That's like I'm happy you said it because like I'm really, you know how like you were like, what's the last? I'm bad like on the spot. I'm bad like you could be like, what's like rap, your favorite rap verse, and I would be like, I don't know it right now. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
And I would forget, but that's one of my favorite movies, like top 5, top 3 probably. Bad Lieutenant.
Damn. So what is it about Bad Lieutenant that you love so much? Because that movie's fucking great.
No, because it's like I know you're like, damn, what? It's like he's a sick fuck. Like I just first of all, I like the level of like sick fuck he is. You know what I mean? And like, but that's not what I like about the movie. But I just like the way the movie is. You know what I mean? Like the family. Yeah. Like I love the family and how he's just like going in and out of that. And I love I might have even seen some like interview about it that put it in my head, but there's that like the whole time you hear the Mets on the radio and then you also hear the like police, but they're always like kind of tuning out the police radio. And it's like, they're just trying to hear the Mets game. There's like all these elements to it. And that director is ill. What's his name? Abel Ferreira.
Yeah.
He's ill. Like, so like, I could just see like, then seeing interviews with he did King of New York.
Yep, he did do King of New York. Yep.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like this almost fantastical, but not fantastical, but there is this over the top element to both of those things. But it's like still mad real and grounded and like New York and grit. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's still kind of like I don't know. Bad Lieutenant crazy, like especially in Harvey Keitel going nuts. He got his dick all out and everything. Like.
Movie is so wild.
I'm like you did your thing, Keitel. Like you really went there,
right?
People talk about there's that other Bad Lieutenant, which I know is dope.
Port of Call, New Orleans with Nicolas Cage, right? Because that one's crazy too.
But I'm always like, nah, bro, you got to see the old Bad Lieutenant. Yeah. That one's different.
Yeah, nah, you're right. Cause it's I guess you could call the new one kind of like a sequel, but like they're just like so kinda tonally different.
It's like a different movie. Like, I kind of like that it's not a sequel. I liked in my head to think about it like it's like they took the title. It's almost like Scarface.
Right.
It's like, all right, there's the old Scarface, there's the Capone. You know what I mean? And there's
yeah.
All right, Scarface, but you get it. It's like, oh yeah.
Right, you know, like it's like it's in the lineage, but it's not like the exact same movie again type shit. I love that stuff too. But like Port of Call, New Orleans is like way more over the top, and like it almost feels like they were trying a little, like not too hard, but like they were trying harder to like get a reaction out of you. You know,
it's almost like they didn't. It's almost exactly Bad Lieutenant. They didn't even try, but it's almost like crazier to me. It's like crazier, but then it's like. They were trying hard. You know what I mean? It's like Nicolas. It's like it's a little bit more how. You know what I mean? It's like they got to try harder.
Yeah,
Harvey Keitel like with a needle in his arm and his little ass shriveled up dick like running around the fucking.
Yeah,
You know
But
what
you
I
know,
mean? The
like,
opium den, like, you feel me? Like,
right. Now you got to swap that out with Nicolas Cage flicking imaginary iguanas and shooting breakdancing ghosts with Exhibit behind him going like, yeah, like that movie
that
is
shit's
so wild,
crazy.
man. Like for real, both of them. But
That shit's nuts.
yeah, for real. I'm curious because you mentioned like once again you mentioned how kind of that like how like that rawness that came from like Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, like early on, kind of like informed or at least like kind of sort of informed the way you made music. So like when did music when did music first come into your life and like when did you really start first like paying attention to it? You know?
I always was into music. I mean, like, I don't know, music's kind of one of those things that I guess like everyone's in, you're like a little kid, you like to dance, like everyone's, you know what I mean? It's like music, but
Right.
I always liked to dance a lot. I love to dance. I always kind of knew I wanted to do something with music, and I always like just, I mean, to me, it's like really organic. It wasn't like this, like, oh, I was like dove into learning about music. I just what I heard, I was like reacted to. You know what I mean? And then like
Yeah.
I went, like going through different phases and stuff. Like I got into like punk music, but I got into like a big like Ramones phase when I was young, and then I got into like
Mm-hmm.
hardcore, like Minor Threat and all that, Bad Brains, and then like earlier I was into hip hop when I was really young, like 50 Cent and everything that was coming out, and then I kind of then I think it was like like Wu was one of the big things that like then because I think there was there's some connect where it's like I was into hip hop because I loved it, but then I got into like the punk thing, and then when you're young, you have that like, oh, what side do I need to be on? Like you got to like pick an identity or something, you know what I mean? But then I
Yeah.
kind of Woo kind of brought that like there's that rawness and there's that like they have that imaginative thing, and I think maybe even that like Woo, it's so grounded in reality and realness in New York and hip hop, but it's also Shaolin, and it's this, it's they're using their imagination and they're creating a world, and it's like even like what I was saying is you could have some, I love like a New York movie that's just gritty and grimy, but that's why I like Bad Lieutenant or like King of New York or like even another one. There's that movie The Summer of Sam. It's Michael Imperioli, I think, directed
Yeah.
it. I
Summer
love
of
that
Sam's
movie because
classic. Yeah.
it's kind of like it's like a play. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more like I don't know. It just feels like imaginative and shit. It's more like I don't know. It's not too just like dry and raw. You know what I mean? But it is
Mm-hmm.
still. It has that balance. Like, but Woo was the thing I think. But then like after that, it was like my older homies putting me on to stuff when I was in like sixth grade or something. And then I like really I always rapped a little bit because when you're in New York, you're always rapping. Just it's like, you know what I mean? It's in the spirit of the city. Everyone kind of messes around and freestyles, but then I
Yeah.
kind of started honing that way more. And then, just that's when I really like dove in. I would say that's when I got like knowledgeable about a certain type of music was that hip hop at that time, and like just going back and listening to everything that I could and just taking it all in, and like uh just learning how to rap by just rapping and going out and like freestyling at parties and everything and just getting into ciphers and shit like that.
Right. And then yeah, like it's like just like growing up in the tri-state, like whether that's like New York or Jersey or Connecticut, like I'm from Jersey,
Sure.
so like that's like I totally understand everything you just said, and like that it's like I'm happy you emphasize like how organic it gets over here. Like it's just like it's just like in the air and you just like absorb it through your skin type shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't actively participate, it's just like around you at all times, you
I
know?
feel that. No,
And like
exactly. It's
yeah.
like you can't not somehow brush your shoulder with it or be a part of it or like you know what I mean because it's just around you
Mm-hmm.
in the streets and everything. So I think that I don't know, it's something unique about that in New York, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Nah, in New York in particular. Like, and like as you're kind of taking in all these influences from all around, whether it's music, movies, whatever, like was there ever a time when you kind of consciously linked film and music together in your head as two things that complement each other? like that, like in the way that like a song from a soundtrack can like amplify a scene in a movie, or like a, it doesn't have to be exactly that, but like
Yeah, yeah.
but like yeah.
I mean, I think like when now I think about that a lot. Like I think that's so important to a film. One, the music, you know what I mean, and it can like.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also like when I was young, like one of the things was like Kill Bill. I was into Kill Bill, so like when it was like RZA did the soundtrack, and like even like the songs he picked, you know what I mean? Just as like being involved in that, it's like you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
he killed that shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like just because I was like, I wouldn't have maybe been like, oh, who did the soundtrack for this movie? You get what I mean? I wouldn't have been maybe thinking about it unless it was like, oh wait, RZA did the soundtrack. You know what I mean? And then you're like, whoa,
Right.
he did. Oh, and then you're like thinking about it and putting it all together. Like, oh, he put this all together. Like this is ill. You know what I mean? Whether he picked this song for
Yeah.
it or he produced this song for this little bit, or like, yeah, and you start to hear, oh, you know what I mean? Like, so that was a moment. And then same thing. Then like then you start thinking about the other RZA ones because there's like Ghost Dog and shit.
Yeah, I was about
You
to
know what I
bring up
mean?
Ghost
And like,
Dog. Yeah.
because then it's like that's like, and then those movies are like the soundtrack is one, and it's like that movie Ghost Dog ain't the same thing without that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so it's kind of like, oh wait, this is actually such an important part of it in that way, And then even then later, seeing like I'm trying to think, some of the Softy bros stuff, like the way the
Yeah.
sound hit and the way it was mixed, even and all that. You're like, whoa, that was such a part of the film. It intensified it in the right times. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it's
totally.
something that you notice, but not in a way where you're like, oh, that was like distracting. In a way where you're like, oh, that like upped the whole experience. You know what I mean?
Right. You could, yeah, like you could even look at something like Uncut Gems. Like Uncut Gems is a great example of that. You
Exactly.
know, like I haven't seen it since I first saw it, and I didn't like it as much as everybody else did. But that's the one thing I liked a lot about it, was just like how much like everything about that movie was just made to make you feel so anxious and just like have you
Mm-hmm.
on edge at all times. Like I
Or
really admire that in a movie.
the other one too. Did you see Good Time?
No, I haven't.
You got to see that. That's the one they made before. That one is like that level of anxiety from the soundtrack is crazy because that's like an even more. It's just more crazy. Like it's a little bit more like, it's like that other one is Adam Sandler. Still like there's that comedic thing. That one
Yeah,
is a little bit more like really intense drama. So it's like the stakes is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
that's fun. I'm fucking with that. Or
Yeah.
maybe not
Check it out.
fun.
You should keep it.
No, I definitely will. Fun's the wrong word, but I'm fucking with that regardless. I like that.
Oh
Um
yeah, it's like fun, but it's fucked up. You know what I mean?
we like fun but fucked up over here. That's cool.
Exactly.
Um so for you, like you were talking about how like just like rap shit was just kind of like in the air, and obviously you had a lot of other musical shit going on too, just like in terms of influence. But when did you first know that rap was going to become something more than just a hobby and just like something that you did like in your spare time?
Yeah, I think for me, I think I knew. I mean, I knew pretty early. Like the moment I was like, in high school, probably before that, I was like, nah, this is what I'm gonna do. Cause like I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think because for me, it was just that was it. It was like even in high school, I was prepared. I think even people, some of my peers will be like, yo, it's crazy. You like did so much shit. Not like I did so much shit, but they're like, you were doing it like young. You were like out like dropping shit when you were young and like going and like touring when you were young, like when we were like still like kind of figuring out what we were getting into and wanted to do. And that's because
Right.
like I think in high school I was already like prepping that. Like I was like, nah, I need to. I was like in a rush. I treated high school like I was like, I need to get a tape out before high school.
Damn. Okay.
Like I need to get a tape out before this shit ends because I don't. Once I was like, I don't really want to go to college. And I know
Mm-hmm.
like my parents are gonna make me if I don't have nothing going on. So I was like, I need to get something going on now. But I was like rapping in the city around so much that I gained confidence as an MC where I was like, nah, I'm nice. You know what I mean? At least like
Right.
around A1 in the, you know what I mean? The kind of like downtown to uptown to a little bit like Brooklyn area, you know, at least in these circles. And I, you know, in New York, you get to know so many people from everywhere and all different types of people. It's like from just going out. So it's like that kind of gained the confidence. And then from there it was like figuring out who to work with and like what made sense, learning how to, you know what I mean? That's the other thing. It's like all this shit. Someone would be like, yeah, I went out and I bought a mic. And then I was like, nah, I need to find someone to work with. You know what I mean? And then like, luckily I ended up working with Sport. He kind of reached out to me and like, you know, I worked with different people before that, like not really worked with them, like just try, you know, like older heads that would have a connect. They'd be like, oh, I got this dude that produces, like link with him and then like record a random thing. And it was just weird. I was young. Like I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but Sport, then we like more, it was organic. We met up and we started talking about ideas and we started, you know what I mean? It was like, all right, what do you want to do? And he really was the brains behind that. I was kind of the voice of it, I think, but he was the one who's like, yo, we should do it as a group, like, and have this kind of, he knew I was influenced by other genres and I was like downtown. So I was like influenced by the history of downtown as well. And the whole no wave scene back then, not like the K&O, like the no wave, the music, the art scene. Back in the day. So like, we were like, yo, if we could connect those a little bit, like early on, it would be like, all right, we got to do, it's like Suicide meets Dipset. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's and this is from Sports Head, but it's based off shit that he knew that I connected with on both sides. So it's like, yo, because Dipset's such a big influence. I said, woo, that was like early. But once I was high school, it was Dipset time. It was,
bro.
You know what I mean?
Like I hear so much of Cameron in you. I know you've probably gotten that quite a bit, but like I hear so much of Cameron in you.
Once people get past like how my voice sounds, then they're like, and they like, it's someone that has had to listen to me, I think, enough because they had to get past the kind of nasally voice, but they're like, oh, nah. I think that is my like go-to, like if you don't know it, you know what I mean? It's even sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to hit this shit. And they're like, yo, just think about Cam. Because, you know, like Cam could rap any kind of on anything in that kind of casual flow. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And he's like,
that's just, it's one of those things that just stuck. It's like Cam, but it's also, maybe he was that guy for our time too, you know, like, like Hove was obviously that guy in this big grand scheme, but in terms of when you're young, it's like, you're not always just like, oh, I love the most popular rapper. You're like, not Cam. Like, that's the dude. That's Dipset. He's like holding, like, I loved Cam like the post Rockefeller Cam, I loved because we were in high school when all that shit was coming out. And it was like, he was still doing it. He was like, all right, cool. The video budgets went down, everything, but they're like, yo, we still here. It's Dipset. And like, you know what I mean? And I fucked with that.
Right. Yeah, nah, me too. Like, and another thing I loved about Cam was just like, he like wasn't afraid to be like, he was really silly a lot of the time. You're like, people kind of like make fun of him for it now, but like, he was just
going
like
over their head. A lot of that shit was going over their head,
man. Yeah, but that
was a thing back in the day. I remember getting into arguments with people, and I would have to say shit and rap it in their face. Like, are you stupid? Like,
do you not see this? Like,
yeah, are you like, bro? This shit's like what? Nah, I'm like, bro, it's over your head. Yo. It's ahead of its time too, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's like
that's silly that you could be like serious, you could be gangster, and you could be a little silly too, and funny with in the cleverness of the line, but it's like. And kind of unabashed, like no shame, like fuck it, yes, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of in hip hop right now, you know what I mean? It's like the there's a lot of cleverness in hip hop. I feel like again in the wordplay and everything, but I think it's in that kind of playful, like. But there's something classic about that, bro. For real,
right? Yeah, nah.
Like, it's like nah, bro. Like have some fun with it.
Right. Yeah. No, you don't got to take yourself too serious. Like, you know, like you're here, like have fun. If like you're in that type of, just have fun. Like, just don't be afraid to have fun.
On the mic too hard. It's like, it's like not everyone is DMX. You know what I'm saying? Like not everyone can do that in the right way. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, we don't need 80 million flesh in my fleshes. Like, you know, like there's a time and a place for flesh in my flesh.
Degree. It's like, that's different caliber. You can't just do that. That's like, he's on because it's like that's like another. That's the other thing. People will like mistake it. Someone will be like not, people don't know like X is melodic. X is like on some
absolutely
level. You got what I mean? But someone will be like, "Yeah, I'm doing DMX," and be like, "Ah!" It's like, nah, bro, that's not how X. You know what I mean? Like X did it smooth, but hard. It's like there's a very subtleness to that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what's so funny? I had friends growing up who treated Big L the same way. Like people would like get on a mic and just start saying like the most foul shit that like meant nothing, and it's like
yeah.
it's just like you don't have it, bro. Like like Big L didn't just get on the mic and say foul shit for no
People
reason.
didn't get that.
Like
the whole
exactly.
point is he said it so fly that he could. That's the thing in rap. I even say it's like even you can even saying foul shit or a diss or even just bragging. Why do people like to listen to a song about someone bragging? You can only, what makes it dope is if you say it so fly in an ill way that it's like, it's like, it's almost like when you like are with a group of people and you're like cracking jokes. Like you don't want to just be like, but you know what I mean? Like you want to be fly with it. Like you want to actually make it. You know what I mean? You want to hit them in those places and shit. And you get what I'm saying? I don't know. It's very particular, but I feel you because I know that too, bro. I'm from that era. I don't want you to bring back my old freestyles from when I was in high school because that was when I was like Big L saying crazy. But it was like that, just freestyling saying crazy shit. But you're right. Even looking back, you're young, you're drunk freestyling. You're like, that was so like influenced, but it's like, it was only dope if you actually did it in a fly way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For real, clever way. Yeah.
It's always, like it's always that like it's not about what you say but how you say it type of thing. I mean, like it's also about what you say, but
totally.
how you say it is
important. How you say it
too. Yeah. Like, and I'm really interested in the fact that you like, because I mean, like, like you're like your come up is so tied to like being a part of a group. And like it's weird because like that was my first connection, but then you spent so much time kind of, I mean, like obviously you weren't working by yourself, but like like after Rat King kind of broke apart, like you took quite a few years to put out projects that were just you, and like obviously you're like working with a ton of people, but like those 3 projects, Lil Me, No Mountains in Manhattan, and Ufi, were like, that's you just like figuring out like who is Wiki, and like that like that's just like I feel like that's a part of your journey. I feel like that's a part of your journey that doesn't really get talked about as much because like like you're here now and like you're on the other side of that shit. And I like feel that, and like what just because I'm curious, like like when you make No Mountains, or when you make Lil Me, No Mountains, and Ufi, like what growing pains are you going through while you're like kind of figuring out who you are as like a solo artist in that way? That's a really fucked up way to ask that question.
No,
but
no, I mean, I think that it was like that time was, for me, Lil Me was like the most fun because that was really, Lil Me was just what I had made. Some of those songs were really old. It's like all the solo stuff I've been working on kind of like outside of Rat King for a minute. And then like, obviously when I got closer to it, I started like working more on it. I did it in UK. I did it in New York, like wherever I was at. And it was like, I love that tape because that's like it's an album. It's kind of a project. It's kind of a mixtape. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's like, it's just an experience. And it's just like, it's a real authentic taste of like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Like, these are the people I've been with, being creative with, you know what I mean? Over the years, like, and, just kind of that first step of like experimenting with different types of beats and different types of, I mean, with sport, everything was different types of beats and different types of like rhythms and all that. So it's not like that was like a ill thing too, because that already trained me for like, I could rap on anything kind of thing. Because we would rapping on footwork beats, you know what I mean? So it's like
his style is crazy, man. Like those like
exactly to like Memphis style shit too. It was like there was all types of shit. So it already trained me to like those different flows, I think. So then it was like, all right, now I like to work with everyone. Like, let's tap it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go on.
No, I was just sorry. My fault. I was gonna say.
Nah, you go.
I was just gonna say, like you like look at Lil Me, and it's just like like you got sounds from Sport on there. You got 2K Trinata beats on there. Like you got a Skepta feature on there. Like you're working with you're working with Archie. Why can't I remember King Cruel and like all of his people. Like and I gotta tell you something because I just remembered it. CD Motherfucker is one of my favorite songs you've ever made. And the first time,
Yeah,
the very first,
I used to play that shit live all the time.
that shit goes crazy, bro. The first time I saw it and I was looking at the credits, I read it really fast and I thought Black Milk produced it. And I was like, oh shit, Wiki and Black Milk got a song. That's wild. I know y'all made a song after that.
They make a
But like
song.
I saw it and I was
That
like, no,
Black
it's not.
Milk song is hard too. The one we did.
Yeah, man. But
Yeah,
like
a video for it, I think.
I think I might have missed the video. But like obviously Black Milk didn't produce CD Motherfucker. That was Black Mac. And I'm like, it took me like 6 months to realize that it wasn't a Black Milk beat. And like somebody was like, that doesn't say Black Milk, Dylan. I'm like, what do you mean? And like I looked
Okay,
at
you
it.
said BN. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't even BM. Like I have this thing where like I look at stuff
It was
fast.
Black M.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or like there's a K. Whatever. I get it. I totally get it. I get like how you yeah.
Like it's a problem I had since I was a kid. Like I just read things fast and just like assume it says the thing, and then people will be like, no, it says that. Like I do it all the time. I'm trying to stop, but either way, that was just a, like that was like those three projects. I mean like even just considering that like I was still coming up while you were putting those projects out, and like No Mountains and Lil Me in particular were like really formative for like my that was like I must have been in like my early to mid 20s. I might have like I think Lil Me came out while I was still in college, and then No Mountains was maybe like 3-4 years after I graduated from college. And then we talked. I interviewed you for DJ Booth then, and I was like real excited just about like, because like No Mountains to me, I talk to people about this a lot, but like that feels like that's like the Wiki album to me. Like if anybody,
that's the thing. I thought it's interesting. Like No Mountains. Yeah, I love No Mountains, but it's, what it was is like, I think the place I was at the time, it's like one of them things where it's like the place you're at and then everything, it didn't line up for me. Like for anyone else on the outside, maybe it did, but it was like for me. And then when that happens, then you're not like, I don't know, like I felt like it was just a weird experience. Like Little Me, I just made with my people in my crib, wherever I was at. And then Mountains I made in Excel, and it was like I felt like maybe I felt a little pressure, but then I also felt like there wasn't really someone direct, like, yo, there wasn't like not because of Excel, because it's like there wasn't necessarily anyone there in New York that I was like, oh, you be the person to like A&R this, or like, you know what I mean? Right. So it was kind of me, but then I just felt like it was like, I don't know, but then looking back, it's one of them ones like I bet you I'll throw that on now and be like, yo, this shit's hard. And I'm hyped, yeah, and I'm happy because you know what it is? It's like looking back, I'm happy about it because it's like I had a concept and I like followed through with the concept and I did it and I ran it. You know what I mean? Like
right.
It's like you could talk about a film that you want to make. Like, you and your boys, oh, we're gonna make this movie, we're gonna make a film. I'm like, bro, you know how hard it is to make a fucking film? Like, make one, like make something. And follow through with it and do it and run it. The idea, like, you know what I mean? Like, No Mountains. So when I came up with the title, and then I was like, all right, nah. And I was like, oh, is this too like conceptual? I'm like, nah, let me just do it. And like the art and everything, you know what I mean? So I'm like happy with that. I love that project, but I think it was just I was a weird place at that time, and then it was like after that I left Excel, and then it was like also it's not just Excel, it's also my management. Like I was like running through all like random people around me, and nothing was organized. So it's really more that, I think, because I think as a now that I'm even speaking about it, I think that it's like that, then that management relationship with the label and how that all flows is all so important. You know what I mean? So I think really, and I was young, you know what I mean? So like,
right.
I think now I would have been not about like how I made the music, but more about like how I went about everything political, just like went about how I just held, conducted myself and everything. Not that I was like wild or nothing, just like being more professional, more on top of shit, and more in like, because now, it's interesting. I used to be like, oh my God, why isn't it things like, I was talking to my girl about it. I'm like, yo, like that shit I said, oh, I was going so hard to get on to like get something. And then it kind of worked out a little bit. It's like we got the XL thing. But then I felt like even to now, I'm like, then I've just been like, all right, I'm here. You get what I mean? But it's like other people have like actually been like, nah, that shit didn't work 4 times and I'm still out here. And then they come and I'm like, and they're learning through that. They're like getting better at all the other shit. And I like feel like that's what I'm doing now. Like I'm like, right, actually like, nah, I'm doing the release. I'm getting these videos together. I'm actually on top of everything. So it's like, you have to learn better. Now I'm trying to learn to plan ahead. Like I have projects that I'm like, that's coming out next year in May. You get what I mean? And we're going to plan everything perfectly that's done now. You get what I mean? Shit like that. So it's like, it's an important learning experience, I think. But at that time, I kind of was like, oh, that's the label. But it's like, even with the label, that's the power. If you got to push those buttons and you got to still run it. It's like Cam he's saying in all them interviews, he's like, I learned from my last deal. That's why when I was in the Rock, and you could see it. When you went to, who was doing it as well besides Hove on Rockefeller, Cam and Dipset, right? Because he was talking to the marketing people. He was like getting cool with that. Like he knew what he did last time of just, I'm gonna just send in the album. I'm a rapper. All right, do your thing. It's like, no, you gotta like get involved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta be hands-on with that shit.
Exactly.
And right. Yeah. No, he talks about that all the time. And yeah, like you're absolutely. I mean, like you told me, and I've like read. You've talked about this a bunch, but just like like that, like No Mountains in Manhattan was like your time at XL was kind of chaotic in some ways, And then of course, like Ufi, and then like Ufi comes out, and like that's like the first like this.
Even
is, like,
if it was like in my own life, even if it was just my own life, it was chaotic, and that's when I was on XL. Like whatever it is,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
In that period, for sure.
Right, totally. Yeah, and yeah, like thinking about it in hindsight and reading all the stuff and just like knowing about my relationship with that project and like just like even like thinking about like it comes down to my relationship with that project comes down to the point that I remember the original beat for Baby Girl. I remember hearing the original beat for Baby Girl, and then I go on DSPs one day and I hear that it's slightly different, and it's still good, but it's different. And I was like,
so now because we had to flip that whole sample, and it's different. Like the sample, it's not like we didn't just replay it. We changed, like we flipped it, actually changed it, like made it a whole different. You know what I mean? Like whatever the fuck it's called. I'm joking. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not even the same notes. You feel me? Like it's like totally different, but it's just getting that feel. That was an ill experience, and I love working with the people like Alex Epton and Tony was involved. I just felt
shout out to Tony.
Shout out Tony, and also I felt like that. I felt like I needed I wish like then low key. I wish I was just like, yo, let me just have Tony do the whole thing, but like work with like have him. That's what I think I needed, and that's why I think. Not to trail off, but like,
yeah.
Even if it's not one producer, it's like having someone there that's like, all right, the sound wise, at the end of the day, I'm not the producer. I made a couple beats on No Mountains, but I'm not the sound. You know what I mean? That's not me. I like, oh, that shit's hard. Let me get on that. That shit's fire. Let me get on that. That's why I always see it in like the reviews. People are like, he's lyrical as hell on everything else. This project was like this though. You know what I mean? It's like, I get it because I'm like, I could get on whatever and I could make it sound cool, but it's like it's also about cohesiveness and doing a fucking project and making art.
Right.
So like totally. I feel that, but my bad, I mean to trail off. So No Mountain. No, that's cool. Yeah, so then the Baby Girl thing, that was dope because we had like a lot of musicians around, so we could we flipped the whole, we like got to play it out and it's one of those, I love that song and the way it sounds because it's live now. Like you hear it, it's like, and it's the Keitel beat. He made the beat. He made the song. He produced the whole thing. You know what I mean? And then we did it live. And then I just was like, yo, I hope he fucks with it. And I sent it to him, and he was like, oh no, this shit's hard. Like,
okay, that's crazy. See,
because the idea, you're like taking someone's shit, but I was like, I explained with the sample shit didn't come back. They said we couldn't even replay it. It's boom, boom, boom. So he was like, nah, this shit is hard. So it all worked out. And even like when I play that song live. I love to play that song live because it sounds, you hear it like live element in the instruments and in the beat. You know what I mean? So it's like it sounds like that live. Like I really fuck with playing that song live.
Damn. I didn't even know that the new version was like a live. That's so tight, man.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. That makes me appreciate it even more because I love the original and I love you and Keitel work. Like I know y'all, like obviously, like y'all have worked together a lot. Yeah, nah.
Okay, what up?
Make more of that happen, son. Like,
I think we're gonna tap it in. It's it's like everyone is busy as hell. Not even like I'm talking occasionally all the time. I'm just saying in general. I know how everyone busy as hell.
Right,
I'm writing it down.
Right, and like you in particular, like fucking like real quick. I wanted to touch on Ufi before we get to cold cuts. Like, like you like Ufi was the first big project you released through on your fucking hat, Wix at Enterprises.
Yeah.
Like that's when you kind of were like, all right, like this is me now. I'm running with this shit. And just like I've really been like especially over the course of this conversation, I've been thinking about the fact that like you started out as part of a group. You took 3 projects to kind of solidify yourself as like, this is me solo. This is the stuff I want to talk about. Like you have Baby Girls, you got Pestos, you got fucking you got Nutcrackers, like another great song, like just like stuff like that. But then like you figure that out over the course of 3 albums, and then you decide to come back to a sort of group-ish element with making Half God with Navy, and making cold cuts with Subjxct, like, like it's like you're doing like what, just like after kind of going through this process of like making these 3 projects that were, like you're working with like a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. Like, what was it about Sage that made you be like, what was it about both Sage and Subjxct that made you be like, okay, I want to work with this one person for a whole? I mean, like they're both dope, obviously. Sage is an alum; he's been on the show. But like, what was it about the 2 of them that did that for you?
For me, I think like really it was with Sage. First off, it was like, well, it was COVID first, and then that was like a whole weird thing. So I think that kind of lends its role to like why, like there's this kind of break in time where it's like, what's going on? You know what I mean? But with Navy, it was like getting back into making music. And for me, it was also like, I came off like this breakup and I was like I was just not in the best place. Like I didn't know where I wanted to be with my career. I felt really uninspired and everything. And then like, I remember going out to LA and doing a song. I think I had done like one song with Navy, and I did a feature for Uncle John with Navy, and we I know Sage for a minute, so we were like, oh, let's start working more. You know what I mean? It's like same shit. It starts organic. It's like, yo, let's start working more, and then it's like from that. Then when I did the trip to LA to work with Dom for this Mount Kimby thing that just dropped, that was a minute ago. That was like God knows when, but basically. On that trip, I did All I Need with Earl.
Yeah.
On the Navy beat. And that was like, I didn't know that could have been for me. That could have been for Earl. So that was just like up in the air. And then when I got back to New York, I just started working more with Navy. And then I think it was like, we did maybe 2 more joints. And then it was like, nah, we're doing, like, I was like, of course, we got to do the project. Like, it was like, no question. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because everything I was making was I just loved what I was making. I loved to listen to it. I was inspired. It was like, all the beats were inspiring me. It was like really like, organic thing, and then all the like response from Sage was so it's like what I needed. I kind of needed someone to like I'm a sensitive dude at the end of the day, and it's like I'm not saying I don't need like I'm gonna fucking get through it either way, but I don't need that because I'm gonna do it either way. I'm gonna make the project and it's gonna drop. But what I'm saying is what I thought was really helpful to me was he was like, he was just like pushing me and like, nah, yo, Wick, this is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Just like giving that like energy and knowing how much he has going on and how busy he is and just like everything. I was like, bro, I really appreciate that. And like just the respect that he gave me, like I was like, damn, I think it's kind of what pushed me to even be more inspired to like just put everything into that tape, you know what I mean? And then I think that was like a really important tape for me like an album for me to like, you know, get my piece off. And it just like, it's for me, it's like therapy, but at the same time, like it's the perfect encapsulation that's like made a great project. I think it's like these different stories, and it's just like what was going on in my head and in my life at the time. And it's like told, it's like stories in that way too, because it's like the way the Navy beats are. It's not like it's in this world, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
But then after that, that's the thing, my pen game just was going crazy. So then I was like, that's kind of more cold cuts came out of that. That's why I was more like, all right, well,
yeah,
I want to keep doing projects that are like, it's like almost the whole reason I went into the Navy thing is like, I don't want to overthink things, you know? So then it's like, I still don't want to, like, I want to be able to make, you know, then there's that pressure of like, oh, I got to do something at the half guard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to overthink it though. I've been working, it's all organic too. Subjxct DJing for me now. And then he's on the tour with me and Navy. And it's like, now I'm working with him more. And now he's every day, oh, you got to get on this beat. You know what I mean? And it's like, he's a fan of me. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of him, but like, he's a fan of me. He's listened to me back in the day. So he's like, yo, you got to get on this now. Like, and I'm like, all right, this is dope. And then it just was like, yo, we're going to hit him with it. And then we just, both of us being like hip hop heads kind of, and like, it just was like, nah, we need to do some like raw mixtape inspired, like just not take it for what it is. Like, bro, I don't care either way. Like, I'll spit for 6 minutes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it don't matter. We're just doing it. We're unloading. And it's like, I was saying to someone else, it's like, there's a place for Carter 1 and Carter 2 and Carter 3, but then there's also the drought. You know what I mean? And there's also like, you know what I mean? Like, you need that too. Or not you need that, but I was like, I want to be able to do that and still be, respected as a fucking artist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I also want to have fun as a rapper. You know what I mean? So that came out of that, and I love that. And now, but it all really stemmed out of like, one, it's like, it's weird. It's out of practicalness to work with one producer, right? But it's because it's like, it's easier. But it's like also out of like that, having that sound, having someone that can like help guide it, and like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm trying to challenge myself now, is like stepping back into working on a project I have a couple more projects on the tuck, but I'm saying working on that next project that's like, this is like, this is my solo project that I might work with a couple different producers, but it's still, you know what I mean? It still is like that level of cohesiveness that's half God, or it's still that, you get what I mean? So like, find that balance between the people I work with and those right things. Like, I was just with Tony last night and LaRon. I don't know if you know LaRon.
Not personally, but I know who LaRon is.
Exactly. So, and he was playing me some crazy shit. I don't probably shouldn't even talk about this. He was playing me some crazy, but we was just talking about that, bridging that gap and like finding that balance, and like, you know what I mean? And I think like, I've worked with LaRon in the past too, you know what I mean? So like, I just think that's what I'm trying to focus on this next year. So I have like shit planned, you know what I mean? I have me and Tony got a project that's fucking crazy. I got that shit planned, and I'm trying to lock it in, but it's like, then next year I really want to like almost take that step back and be like, what, you know what I mean? Like, let me like, cause I was like, I could rap on any, but now I want to be like, all right, what do I want to, I got that like off. I got that like rapper. I need to prove myself on some MC shit off. I'm like, yo, you could go listen to Cold Cuts for an hour and however long, you know what I mean? So now I'm like, I want to like go back to that way. Like, I'm trying to make music or like make a song. It's like, I don't know. Like, what do I want to make? You know what I'm saying?
Right, totally. And like that, you know, like that was, I'm happy you brought up the mixtape aspect of Cold Cuts in particular, because like when I was first listening to it, I was looking at the track list and like the amount of tracks on it, and like you said, the length, and I was looking like, I was just like, this nigga's fucking spitting for like 5-6 minutes. I'm just like, damn, this really like, it's like I told Miles when I was at the show, I told him that this, like, I realized that this is your longest project you'd put out since Lil Me. I was like, I was like, this is about that length. And like, I was like surprised to really think about it like that. And it almost gave me, it almost felt like Lil Me, just in the sense of like, you know, like I guess really just the length more than anything else, and just like how
I know what you mean, but also I think that like it is like that little me. It's like we're having fun. You could tell like the whole shit,
right,
us just having fun making music, and like not like, oh, this beat's crazy. It's like, yo, we about to make the crazy one, like the future beat.
right,
This type of beat. We're gonna make the like, and we're gonna run it. And it's like, I think that is it. Kind of, to me, even making it felt like Lil Me. It was like,
right,
where Half God was just like, me and Sage tapped in. I made it in this one space in Brooklyn, where it's like, that was like, we're running around recording on tour. We're like coming up with shit. It's all my homies are on it. Everyone that I'm with right now and that I'm with day to day is on it. It's like my people. And it's like, we did it and we put it out. You know, that's like Lil Me vibes. You know what I mean? So it makes sense. Totally. But that's also why it's less cut down. It's like, we're just going to, you know what I mean? It's less like, all right, we're going to pick the best like 14 and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's more like,
it's like, fuck it, give him 20. Yeah. Let's go. And you talked a lot about what it was with Sage that kind of made Half God kind of crackle and like stick out the way it did. Like, what was it about Subjxct? Cause like, you know, I mean, like I'm from Jersey. So like, that's bro.
No, but I got you. But you're just saying for the people out there now.
What is it? What is it about Sub that you love so much? Because you really took to him. Like,
no, one, it's just Sub. It's like Sub is like that dude. It's kind of, to me, I feel like Sub's that young guy who's like, if you know right now. It's like,
definitely,
because the thing about Sub is like, he can do one, he could do anything. Two, I be around Sub and he's learning every day. He's learning new music, new ways to do, you know what I mean? Like, he's a student, constantly getting better, constantly learning new things, and extremely humble, but like extremely competent and loves what he does. You know what I mean? Not extremely competent, but like he's competent in what he does, and he's in that. Like, I be saying, like, Sub isn't like the bedroom producer, beat maker. Sub is like the producer. Sub is like the future. That's like big. Not that he's like some. I don't want to. He's not like I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? But he's like the real deal. He's a star. You know what I'm saying too? Like, it's like there's levels to it. But then in terms of just his production and sound, it's like he has this thing with hip hop beats that's like he can make it sound so fresh, but still give you this essence that it's like you hear you're like, oh, that ain't it. But then with him, it's like you're like that, but then you're like, oh, it's fresh. You're like, this is still current, and it's like it feels like it's from today. You know what I mean? And then also with other things he makes, I think it's like he can make some like Detroit type beat,
right?
But it's the same thing in another way. It's like whatever he's using or sample. It's not just like, oh, we're gonna sing. It's like he's gonna flip it in the craziest way. You know what I mean? It's gonna stand out. Like, this one's different. Like, this one's different. Or even like there's ones on there like the joint Bones. It's kind of like a Bone Thugs type beat, like that type shit. Like that, it's like some future. Or then there's the piece to MC Shan. That one is like that beat. It's like it starts out. You're like, all right, this is the old, and then you're like, oh shit, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I mean, though it's cool that that tape has those moments in there where people can say, or the ooey one, you know, people can see like, wait, nah, Sub is on another. He's got all that, you know what I mean? So, and then he also has Always Will, and then he did One More Chance with Lord Unknown, but it's like he has those. It's like, bro, he can do anything. So it's like, I think that he the truth, man.
Right, man, for real. Like, you even look at like, just like you just pulled out a bunch of names. I'm gonna pull out like 3 more, like Evergreen, Ricky, and goddamn Butter Leather. Like,
Ricky's crazy,
Yo, I was like on the way home from like earlier today before we started, I was listening to Ricky while like drinking my smoothie and shit. Like, Ricky is, and like YL is a fucking, but like that's a whole other conversation. Shout out to YL, bro. He's that dude.
Now Ricky is hard. I literally was just with Sub, and he was like, Ricky's like one of them beats like I wish I made when I was, you know what I mean? Like, if I heard it, like, I wanted to make some shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, that's hard.
Right. And, you know, just like seeing him just like switch it up with so many different styles, but also just like be on 80% of the tracks yelling like he's K-Slay or some shit is just like,
And it's
And
like
that,
he's killing it. That's what I love. Like I'm like he's doing it so well. He's like, you
right.
bastard. He's like, this is the first song, you bastard.
It's like, oh my god, and the fucking it's the reverb that kills me every time because he does it live, he does it on the records. Like it's just like that Subject 5 is just like this large,
exactly.
like he's just
that's
so
a big
crazy
part of it too.
bro.
We wanted it to be like I really wanted to. Here's the difference too, ready? It's like, and you can even see Half God is, and this is like Half God's Wiki. That's my album, produced by Navy Blue. That's like me and Navy on that time. We're like, yeah, that like he's like, I'm playing this role. This is and you could tell that's like a personal. That's like the Wiki album produced by Navy Blue. Half God. That's his own thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? When I was saying earlier, like I'm trying to make the solo thing, that's a little different, but you get what I mean? It still is like that. Whereas like, even though it's 50%, I'm saying, I don't mean 50, I'm saying it's like, it's all equal, but I'm just saying the story it's telling. It's like a movie or something. It's like, it's like, you get what I'm saying? Whereas this shit is like, you see the cover, this is Subject 5, Wiki. Like I wanted it to be like, this is us together. And I wanted to kind of like give that, it's like it's for me to get my shit off, but it's also for Sub to get his shit off. It's like for me to have all the type of beats I could rap on, but it's also Sub to have like an MC that you could like throw him anything, or like an MC you fuck with that you know I could get on shit. And you're like, I want to see you rap on this. Let me do that.
Right.
Like forcing me like, nah, you got to do that one. I'm like, I bet. You know what I mean? So it's like all of that combined, I think is like it's a little different. It's like Subject is a starring Subject too, and you hear it because he's on the tape, and it's like that was an important thing. I was like, he's not on every song, but I was like, you got to host this shit on a certain level, like you got to be on certain ones that make sense, like. And I thought it was dope because it's like he never really did that before, and it's like then the moment he got on the mic, it was like it wasn't like, oh shit, like even as a rapper, the first time you would like get on the mic and you're recording, you're like still like, all right, wait, how do I sound on the mic? You know him, it was like, it's fucking Subject. Like he was right into it, you know what I mean? First take, like it was like perfect. You know what I mean? So I was already like, bro. And then him as a DJ too. It's like even the other night, like he just really started DJing because he had to DJ for the homies. But then it's like every day he's getting better. And then he used the controller the other night, but we're at we had to do the radio show. We stopped over at Sammy's. He learned the CDJs in 15 minutes, and he's over on the show. He literally just learned that shit 15 minutes, and he's doing his thing.
Right, he mentioned that.
And I was like, damn. I was like, you know what I mean? So, like I said, and it's because he wants to learn. He's not just like, oh, no, I'm good with this. He's like, no, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn that. You know what I mean?
Right. And another thing I love about you working with somebody like Sub, who's like coming up right now, is like you had mentioned it earlier, or no, we were talking about how like Cameron was ahead of his time, and in a lot of ways, I feel like you were too, because like you're basically still making the same type of music now that you were then, but like this shit wasn't popping the way it wasn't popping in 2011 2012 the way it is now, like like y'all were doing stuff that was like there were people making the same type of music, but it wasn't like it's everywhere now. Like there's like a whole entire new community that's like hungry for that shit, hungry to make it and hungry to consume it, like and like one of the things that's great about Cold Cuts and Half God too, because like Mike's on Half God, and like you got like Papo and just like all these other people like old and new who you've worked with over the years on Cold Cuts. Like it's just like you've kind of you kind of stuck to your guns, and like I said, you're basically making the same music you've always been making, but you're just like doing it with all these people who have the same reverence and appreciation that you do and are taking it in new directions. And like you've kind of become like an ambassador in that way, like not just of the city, because like these last two albums have been so much of you talking about the New York that you love and like really like defending that shit. But like
I've been stuck in New York too long.
Yeah. That shit is real. That shit is so real. But like you like it's like you're at a point now where like you're like, I mean, like you're still pretty young, like you're not even 30, and like you, but like you've been, but like yeah, right, but like you've been at this for a minute, and like people look up to you, and you're kind of just like like you're putting on for like I don't want to say the next generation, but like you're kind of you're just like in a position where you're putting on for new talent in a way that feels organic, and it doesn't feel, like it doesn't feel like you're somebody who's been making a completely different kind of music and all of a sudden like, oh, I like this now, let me go do this,
Oh
like
no,
you
yeah.
like this
A
is
lot
like
of these, a lot of
in
the
your blood
things.
type shit.
Oh, totally. And a lot of these things are like the people that I'm seeing, like the homie Jadesy from UK.
Shout out to Jadesy, yeah.
Keep your ear up because he's got some crazy. You know what I mean? He's just. I know Jadesy for probably like maybe 10 years. You know what I mean? Like a minute, like since I was 18 or some shit. You know what I mean? So it's like just to see that it's like even I say it all the time and it don't stop. I'm talking about hip hop, but also I'm always talking about like the game. It's like it's not. You know what I mean? Like I've seen him do. There was Subluna City, and there's like, you know what I mean? There's all these, but it's like, bro, we're still here, and it's like to see it all, and then it's like, then you get older, all the people that are like, people part ways and everything, but the people that are all like-minded and still around, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? We're still here, and we're still like gonna tap it in. So I think like, and just like work with each other when it makes sense, and like give each other those looks, and like even like me and Mike have been working on a bunch of stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like that was something that half-eyed, like even that, like I felt Sage also, I appreciate it because I felt a little like, I think it was maybe my old management, but it was also just like, maybe quarantine and everything. It's like you don't see anyone. You're like, I felt a little like disconnected from that whole the underground thing in New York for a second. Like I was just over here. It's like, oh, I'm like wifed up with my cats. You know what I mean? You're like, and then that kind of felt like it brought me back in. I felt like I'm back with my guys. You know what I mean? Like my peers and shit. You know what I mean? Like that I have so much respect for. And then I love when that's just mutual. Like I was in Amsterdam. I saw Mike play, and I'm like, yo, bro, it was such an ill show. The show in Amsterdam. I was like, oh my God, that was, you know what I mean? I was like, dude, like, and he was like, bro, like, like Rat King was an inspiration to the live show, like back in the day when it's just like all the dots. It's like, I'm like, yo, it's so dope. We're here now. It's gonna like, working and shit. So I just appreciate it. And I appreciate that. Like when I came out, I'm happy that it's like, I'm at a time now where I can have a little bit more, like I said, like I got to learn a lot of that stuff so I can be a little bit more like, I know what I want to do now. You know what I mean?
Right. You're doing it on your own time. You got your own company, you got your own label, and like you don't really, not to say that you don't answer to nobody, because like I'm sure you do, but like it's like you're like you took the camera out, like you went with the label, you learned what you needed to learn, and now you're applying it to you, and just like and just like to like it, like it's really just to like see that you started out so young and didn't burn out and didn't get taken advantage of to the point where you lost everything. Because like you've talked about it before, I know
you could get jaded to that point. Like I know what you mean. Like you could just
like
and you know what I mean. I think I'm also lucky because I think that it's like it was like this, like it never like fully like bursted the bubble of like, this is the hypest thing right now. It was never that. It was like always still underground. It was like, if you know still. And I'm like, thank God in this generation where shit is so, not just this generation, even back in the day, it used to be like, oh, what's the good with the sophomore album? Like, but still, it was like most artists, you get like a good 3 albums out of them or something. You know what I mean? But even then, it would be like, all right, what happened to them now? You know what I mean? Shit like that. But now it's like, oh, that shit was hot. Now it's not, where it's like building that thing where it's like, no, this is something where it's like you were even like hearing the new Drake shit and all that. I'm like, bro, this ain't only about that, bro. We do this every day. Like, this is hip hop, bro.
It's a lifestyle, we
do this every day, bro. We don't do this that. Like,
man, I was
like it like for real. We're like, that's even like the whole first 10 years of my career, I was just doing it. Now I'm thinking about like, how do I make money off this shit? You know what I mean? I was almost like, not that I was, you know what I mean? But for real, I didn't have my merch together. I'm like figuring all that out now and I should have, but it's like, because I just love to do it. That's why. And there was something there. Like I was like, all right. I wasn't like I was starving. You get what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah.
But not that I'm saying don't, whatever. There's no disrespect to no one. I'm just saying, you get what I mean? Like, even that, like I be feeling some people that work at some of these places, I feel like I'm like, bro, I was around before you started work. Like I hear weird things like longevity. I'm like, longevity, I've been here You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what is
you've been here for
longevity?
a decade, bro.
It's not here. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, totally. And you know, like there's nothing, you know, like there's no one answer to like how to make it here. You know, like yeah, like especially the way you did it, especially in the community you run in, and especially just like this is, you know, like it's things are different than they were even 10 years ago, like just in terms, but that's a whole other conversation.
no, but
But
even that,
like,
like you can look at like so many other. You can look at there's a few like I look at Skepta.
yeah,
I'm like, look at Skepta. This is a process, and Skepta's had made impacts throughout his entire career.
right.
That some of that mattered, like to the grind thing. Even people don't even realize. You get what I'm saying? And it's like
Yeah, most people didn't get into Skep until Konichiwa happened, you know,
exactly
like,
on like
yeah.
on that next level. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm
Exactly,
not big,
exactly.
and it's like guess. And I'm not saying like that's huge. I'm not even saying it's gonna one day I'm gonna be on the cover of. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is
Right.
there's Alchemist who's like, it's like, nah, I'm creating this thing that this is my shit, and I'm a legend, but I have my, you know what I mean? I'm connecting the
Yeah.
old, and young, and like that's a beautiful thing, bro. Seeing going like whenever you at the out things, there's like the old heads, and then there's like the young heads, like what you were saying, because it's like all that people
Yeah.
are into that, and it's like, and I love that too, how people are into like it's not like whack to be dope anymore or something.
Yeah, you know, like it's just like people aren't
It was like not cool. Like hip hop wasn't cool for a minute. Like in the like what's the zeitgeist or whatever. It's like it wasn't like cool. And then now
yeah,
it's like cool. It's like cool again.
right.
It's like which is dope because then you could like spit and people are like, damn, you're nice. It's not like, oh, that's some rap shit. Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like
Right. You know, like yeah, no, me
Jadakiss
too.
is like the coolest shit right now. Like he's the
Right. Yeah, like after the
Jada because
verses
he's
shit,
that
you know,
man.
like
Why? Because he's that real MC
he's
from the
crazy with
YO
it,
that's like, what's good? Like, you
you
know what I
know.
mean? Because he's him. Like, because he's a real, and that's like, to me, Jadakiss is a perfect example of like what I see a dope MC being. It's just like someone that's just them. And it's like they're true to themselves and it's real and they're a boss in their own right. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Did
And
you
whatever it is.
did you hear the story? Because like maybe like 3-4 months after the versus thing happened, he said that like he was able to like renegotiate his Def Jam contract, like off of how well that versus did for him. Like he was able to
So
like get
fun.
more.
I
He
heard
was
about
able to
that.
like,
Yeah.
you know, he was able to like get his rates up like for shows and appearances and features and
Praise
licensing and
God.
all that. You know, like he's like that shit is so beautiful to me, and that really
Me
does.
too.
And you know, like and just like seeing, you know, like there's, you know, like in my day to day, I talk to kids who are in college, in high school. I talk to people our age and older. Like, you know, like people just like there's more of an appetite for this kind of stuff now than there was even like that's what I was saying about like you kind of, you know, like you stuck to your guns and you were making this shit when it wasn't hot. Like y'all kind of helped make it
Yeah.
hot in a way. And like and like I brought all that up because there's no better way to show that growth than a track like Wiki Speaks 2K22. You know, like obviously that being a sequel to
Yeah, 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 yeah.
being a sequel to Wiki
But then we
Speaks from the
flipped
Wick
it
93. You
crazy.
know, like so like just because I'm curious, like since I've been here from the jump, since I've been here from the dribble, like what, like why was now the right time to do a sequel to Wick Speaks? Because like that's such a specific thing to
It,
call back to. Like
no, for real. Well, it's a mix of two things. It's one is it's because of Sub flipped it because Sub was like, I'm gonna flip this shit. Sub was like, yo, I'm gonna go crazy. You got to do this. But also then it was like funny because that's something that forever people are like, Wiki Speaks. Every show ever, like someone says it, play Wiki Speaks. So we were like, yo, we got to make the joint that it was almost like at first like a joke, like we're gonna be like have it at the set, you know, and be like when they say play Wiki Speaks, then we'll play that shit and like just flip it on them, you know what I mean? So it's
that's
kind of like
hard.
that. And then it was just like then that was like when I was rapping a lot, I was writing like and recording like every day, you know what I mean? So I just like kept writing, you feel me? I just like wrote
Yeah.
this. The thing with this tape too, like an interesting note that you could probably hear after the fact is like I recorded this on myself. This is the first tape that I like in my crib recorded. So everything else like someone else recorded me before. So you can
Right.
hear it. I'm like, it sounds like I'm just rapping on the couch to you or something, which I fuck with it. It's like there's a certain casualness about it, but it's like really organic. I mean, it's just like real. It's like I was always trying to capture that. Like sometimes I feel like when you get in the booth, you're like performing.
Yeah.
There's a level of like, all right, I'm rapping the verse now. Whereas like then there's this thing where you're just someone playing a beat before you're recording and you like have the verse and you're like, yo, check out this verse I got. And you rap it to your man. And they're like, and I'm like, damn, that's what I wanted. Like that sounded perfect because I was like just rapping it to you, getting the reaction and like all
Yeah.
that. And that is like what this tape felt a little bit. It's like sounds a little bit more like that. I like it though. It's cool. It's cool to have that difference too. I heard some people commented like, oh, I like your delivery. It's like it's less like Wiki It's more like
Right. Yeah.
rapping. You know what I mean?
Especially
And
like on
other
the
shit
beginning
serves a
too.
place. Like I love getting energetic in your face, but I'm saying it's like you know what I mean. It's different.
Right. Yeah. Nah. Yeah. I'm happy. Yeah. I completely forgot to bring that up. Like hearing it in the first couple tracks, I was like, this is the most mellow I've ever heard you like on the mic ever. You know, like it's I'm so used to like I saw you like I saw y'all play in Chicago. I saw you play at Pitchfork Fest, and then I saw you do the after show,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe about a quarter of the way through the after show set, you fucking busted the mic into your forehead like you
Oh, yeah,
always do, and then you just started bleeding.
yeah,
It just went straight down your
yeah.
fucking face, and like you were just like really, like you were still going off half god shit. Like I think y'all did a couple cold cut songs if I remember correctly, but like
Did
it
like
was just
my
like
life.
yeah,
That's why we did it. My life. We did. We're doing a live video because we're like the live version is just so crazy. Like we got to do
right.
a live video because I'm like, and then he's backing it. It's like another energy, you know.
Right. And I bring that up because like you busting the mic in your head and bleeding is like that's something I've always associated with you even before that moment, because you've
Yeah,
talked about it a bunch. Like you talked about it on Rat King songs, you talked about it on an Earl song.
yeah.
I was just listening to AM radio like 3 days ago, and
Yeah,
like just like like I've always associated that like I've just always associated that hype with you. So like to see you start a project not hype, I was like, wow, like I was
yeah,
kind of waiting for it, to be honest, like just to see if
yeah.
you would try it, and like you did it, and I was like, cool, like that's tight.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah,
I
it's
like the
cool. I mean,
dichotomy.
that's the thing. It's like what we said. It's all just, like you're learning as you go and like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
figuring out what works in different ways. And also that was like a huge learning experience for me, just learning how to record myself and like do it all properly and everything,
yeah,
So,
and it turned out dope, and like y'all just have something that's like it's just it shows what you're capable of, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's fun. You're telling stories. You're rapping with people, like you're rapping with a bunch of talented people. Like I'm not gonna list all the names, but like
yeah.
everybody on there put their foot in it, their ankle in it. Like it's just I just appreciate, and I'm happy that you're at a point where you just feel like you can just kind of do that and not overthink it, like you said. It's
Mm-hmm.
just you really can't put a price on just being able to like put out some shit and not think about it too hard.
No, exactly. And that's like
Yeah.
there's something like freeing and nice about that. That doesn't have to be so like, oh my God, all the pressure in the world or like all the
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or all the like you're just like this is it's almost like for you or something.
Right.
Like for
Yeah.
everyone else, it's yeah, for me it's like for you, but then by extension, it's just like for the real fans, like for the people that care. And
right.
it's like
Like it's like a peek inside your head, and we all just kind of get that, you know, and that's
I'm
and
telling
that's
you, I
dope.
got some new shit. I got it. This Tony shit is crazy. I'm telling you.
I'm ready, bro. I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah.
ready. And like my very last question to wrap this up, Wick, Pat, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
What would it be about?
Yeah, what would it be about?
Like I'm trying to think, like the plot or like the like. I know what
It
you
could
mean. It would. I don't know. Maybe it'd be about. I think it'd be. I don't know. It'd be cool if it was like about like history, kind of, or like about like history, but like semi like sociological. You know what I mean? But like through my life in a way.
hmm
You know what I mean? But it's like going. It's like somehow it's not really about, you know what I'm saying? Like it's some ethereal I don't know, you kind of feel what I'm saying? It's,
Yeah.
it's kind of complex. I'm saying like it's like about New York and shit, but it's also about, and it's like about hip hop, but it's also telling like a deeper story. Like I wanted, like it should be about like it's some ancient shit and how it all connects. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that
Right.
makes any sense. I don't know. That's like even in my music, I'm trying to like dig deeper into like some of these themes, whether it's like like old tradition, old religions, old all like I don't know. To me, it's like all connected humanity and like
Right.
hip hop and shit. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
it's all like I get what you're saying, just in the sense of like it's just about how like one of the things I love about your music is that like it's like so New York, but not in like a oh, it's just like it's like it sounds like New York, but like you're really like the city like the city is you and you are the city. Like it's not like it's not just New York because of like the general like signifiers of like a bacon, egg, and cheese and the butter leathers, like all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
shit. But
yeah.
like it's like you really do try to use everything you do to like dig into what makes the city special, what made the city special, like why people like why like how gentrification kind of ruined that, how you and other people are trying to fix that. And like once again, this has been a fast like New York has been as integral to your music as that, like it's always been integral to your music.
I know what
And
you mean
like
though. Like even that though, like the my bad, I interrupt you.
no, you're cool, go.
Like no, but there's the new because that's the thing. It's like New York. It's like that's the whole thing. It's like you. It's not just about being like, oh, it's New York. It's like about being like you could tell. It's like anything's a microcosm. It's like you could watch Game of Thrones and there's all these different. You're learning. It's more. You know what I mean? It's about family, about all this other shit,
Yeah.
right? And it's like you could tell through New York. It's about telling those real stories. You know what I mean? It's like you're still getting
Mm-hmm.
like you're still telling the story of the world too, or like what anyone else was going through, or like you know what I'm saying? Because it's
Yeah,
like more personal, but it's just like in that language or whatever.
it's just like I just saw the new Black Panther last night because
Oh,
I'm
for real,
reviewing.
dropped?
Yeah, no, it's out on Friday. I'm reviewing the soundtrack for Pitchfork, and they got
I,
me in. But I
I,
bring that up because like you like look at like Wakanda, and like obviously like Wakanda's about Wakanda, but like like you look at that, and the underwater city is called Talokan that Namor the Submariner runs. It's like like obviously like these stories are about Wakanda and Talokan, but like you look at Wakanda and Talokan and what goes on there, and you can, like you said, like apply that to stuff that's happening in the world.
exactly.
Like whether it's like current events or like stories about family or inheritance or even just like the best food spots. Like it's like it like it's like the area being a character. Like New York is a character
Exactly,
in
exactly. That's
your
my
shit.
point. Yeah,
Like
exactly,
that's that,
exactly.
and that's
And
what
sometimes you get
and
in the perspective from over here and from over there, but it's like it all ties in. Yeah.
right, like like I know the New York you're talking about, but like it's almost like it's like it's almost like how you have a vision of something in your head, right? And then like it's like it's like taking something and turning it into a cartoon and having like the animated version of it be closer to the thing in your head than the real thing
Yo.
is. Like you like look at somebody's
Totally.
face and it's
Yeah.
like this person had like just like oh, like your eye kind of moves in a way and like you animate it and like it looks realer than it does in real life because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
sees it,
Yeah.
type shit. Like that's what you
Totally.
do. That's what you do in New York to me, and that's how I always kind of live and breathe it when I hear your shit. So yeah,
I
that shit is
appreciate
tight.
that. It's like woo. It goes back to woo,
Yeah,
right? Like woo. It's like the end. It's like you could like. It's like a move. You know what I mean? It's like whatever. Shout out Wu Tang.
yeah, always and forever. I just yeah, I just spent a lot of time with that because I just wrote a thing about 36 chambers. So yeah, like shout out to Wu
Oh
Tang
hell
for
yeah,
real.
man. Bro. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yo,
Thank you for taking the time. Sorry for talking your ear off and shit.
no, bro, this is what we're here for. I appreciate it. And like I said, just yeah, just like as a fan, like I love the growth and I love how you're kind of extending the olive branch back to people who are a little younger and just like, like that's you're making all the right moves, and I just appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And you know, thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far, and shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.